Ready?
G'day everyone and welcome to Flock, a Pelicans podcast part of the Old Man Squad Sports Network. I'm your host Lyle Swithenbank. The inaugural episode, the inaugural full-sized episode. Of course we had the little teaser episode, but we're back. A brand new show, part of the new network, back with my old buddy Dan Besbris, who I worked with very closely at Sports Ethos for many, many years. And now he's doing his own thing. And so I thought, well, why not jump aboard and see what he can do? And, you know, work together, which is always good fun. So looking forward to introducing this new show. We're going to talk about where I've been, what's going on. Of course, we're going to talk about the Pelicans and the state of the Pels since the dreaded disappointing end of the playoff run a few weeks ago now. But yeah, it's good to be back. It is. And in front of the mic, you know, where I've been, I suppose, you know, we finished up at Sports Ethos a couple of seasons ago now, and it was hard because you built that up from the beginning, but I knew it was time for a change. I thought, well, hey, you know, why not go and do it myself? And Didn't Call Bank was born, and of course, it still exists, but probably not getting the attention that I should have given it. And, you know, fate would have it that Dan reached out after he left and was like, hey, well, why don't you come and join my sports network? And I said, you know what, Dan? Sometimes you just need someone to say, hey, come and be a part of something. And, you know, you throw yourself back into it. And so that's what sort of transpired. And now we're back with Flock. The music, as you would know, is by Brenton Eckersley, the good man from South Australia, also formerly Sports Ethos contributor for a while, and one of my great mates. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you should, and very, very, you know, clever guy to be able to put together the music. And I thought, well, we're not going to abandon it after Didn't Call Bank sort of misfired, and we'll put it into Flock. And I appreciate him taking the time to do that. And, of course, the new logo. Another Pelicans faithful. It's the man himself, Chef Master Dom on Twitter. Make sure you're going and following him as well. He does a whole heap of jersey edits and things like that. And he's doing a bit of his own content creating as well. So make sure you go and check those guys out. Great Pelicans fans and you know, good friends of mine. And I really appreciate their support and helping me get this going because, you know, it takes an army, and when you've got good people that'll help you out to get things going, it's really nice, and I enjoy that. It's nice collaborating with other Pelicans fans from all over the world, and yeah, it's been a really fun ride trying to get this one off the ground, and you know, working with a team, it's a bit lonely when you try to do it by yourself, and you know, you lose motivation, which is not an excuse, but sometimes you just need that push, and I'm glad that we managed to do it, and now we're here. So, that's where I've been. Of course, you can always, you know, reach out on Twitter if you want to have a chat. I suppose for the administration side of things, at Lyle Swithenbank on Twitter. You can find the show on Apple. You can find the show on Spotify. Maybe down the track we'll go to YouTube and we'll get some videos going, but at the moment we'll stay audio until I start, you know, getting a few more reps under the belt and get the rust off, and we'll be flying. And perhaps when we start getting some guests and stuff on, we'll make sure they're recorded and we'll get them up on the YouTube, and you guys can check that out as well, because I know people like to watch the videos as well. It's much more interesting than me just talking into the microphone. You'll see my hands waving around and you know, my background, which sometimes it's sometimes a bookshelf, sometimes it's the Zion collection, but I'm sure you guys have all seen that on Twitter throughout the journey. But I digress. The Pelicans, that's what we're here for, right? So let's get into that. That's where I've been. Now let's see where the Pelicans have been. Well, they've been busy. The people surrounding the Pelicans have been busy. I suppose we start with the administrative side of things. In the executive, Trajan Langdon, our GM, it's probably the big name that kicked off the off-season by going and joining the Detroit Pistons. He's been busy, and so is their ownership, sacking Monty Williams just the other day, absorbing the final $65 million 6 year or 5 years of their contract, and he now gets the reins to really take control of the place and get his own coach and get his own staff and really construct a roster that he's interested in. And I'm sure, I wish him all the best and getting out from under Griff. At some point, you want to continue to challenge yourself and have more control. So while I'm sure they had a great relationship, it was good that he now gets to take the reins at a different team and spread his wings. And hopefully that means he'll trade with us. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I don't know their relationship that well. But with that being said, the next shoe to drop was Fred Vinson. Our renowned shooting coach had been with the Pelicans for 14 years. Probably longest serving member of any regime in Pelicans and Hornets history. But he's gone to Detroit as well, so he can go and help guys like Cade Cunningham and Azor Thompson. Is that the right one? Whichever one they've got. Learn to shoot. And, disappointing for us. He gets a change of scenery. And maybe this is Griff really taking control of the situation, and he said it wasn't going to be a off season for complacency. He said it wasn't going to be, and so far, well, things are moving. So we wish Fred all the best. Fix many a jump shot, and hopefully some of those skills as the shooting master have gone across to a few of our guys on the roster and in the coaching staff, and that helps them continue to get that consistency, and a few more guys can increase their shooting percentages going into this season, because by golly, we need it. Rumours circle around James Borrego, head assistant of the Pelicans. He was there this year and was meant to implement a new offense. Sounded like the players just decided that they weren't going to do that, which then makes it pretty difficult to implement. And they abandoned it, and we just went Point Zion. And, Borrego's known for his three-point shooting and, the corner three creation. I think we had more corner threes than we had for a long time. The difficulty was we didn't have the personnel, or we did, and we didn't use them in the correct way. So, hindsight's 20/20. But Borrego now looks like the hottest property on the market. I know he interviewed for the Los Angeles Lakers, or had heavy interest with visiting the Los Angeles Lakers before they settled on JJ Redick, who's just signed with them. And now he's a finalist in the Cleveland job, and he's a finalist in the Detroit job. So, man, tough day at the office when, we wanted to get that experienced assistant next to Willie. We did that. Perhaps wasn't as effective as we thought. We won 49 games, the best we've done for, nearly all time. But, I think left a little bit wanting. And, Willie Green now gets to rebuild a staff again. We get some fresh guys in, some fresh points of view, and I don't see that as a bad thing. We really, needed that refresh, and I think while you can blow a roster up and trade all of that, you've got to make sure that we're being dynamic and not getting stagnant. So a good sort of first move, and we'll see what happens in terms of what Griff cooks up by getting some extra coaches in, and who Willie Green wants to put alongside him. With the replacement for Trajan being Bryson Graham as a promotion, we get a bit of continuity with a guy that's been here for a long time, but also a guy that's hungry, wants to make his own team, and can work under the guidance of Griff as well. So we'll see what happens with all this. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's interesting as to how the rest of this off-season plays out. We've got the Olympics coming up, so there'll be A lot of eyes on that, a lot of attention. Free agency starts, I think, the 6th of July. The draft, is coming up in the next, week or so. We're really getting close to this, the perils of the off-season where it goes a bit quiet and we reset and we, launch. The hope goes back to top. Well, look what we're going to do. We're going to convince ourselves on any moves we make. So I look forward to that. It's always a fun time because everyone goes back to 0-0. And we start the season again. No, we start the year again and the cycle again. So, with that, to recap, Trajan out. Bryson, GM. Fred Vincent out. He's gone. Borrego's, 1 foot out the door with the either the Cavs or the Detroit Pistons. So who knows what's going to happen there, but we will watch this space. So, I thought we'd pivot a bit, and now that we've done sort of the supporting cast of coaches and GMs, we now have a look at the roster. Now, the roster is going to be an interesting one because these guys that are free agents, we know all of the rumblings and rumours and things, and after Brandon Ingram's sort of poor performance in the playoffs, and his impending free agency, there's a lot of rumblings around that. But I thought, well, let's have a look at what the roster looks like currently, and the current payroll, and who's a free agent and who's not. So, start at the top. We've got CJ McCollum. He's still got 2 years remaining. Decreasing contracts. So in a couple of years, he'll be getting paid $30 million. He'll be on $33 million coming into this season, being the one that hasn't started yet. After this offseason, we've got Zion, who's about to kick into his brand new mega contract, $34 million next year. We've got him through to the 27-28 season, where he'll be getting paid about $44. And with the cap explosion, we got him at a good time. Otherwise, we're paying these huge amounts of money like, Jason Tatum's about to sign. Brandon Ingram, he goes into the final year of his deal on $36 million. And that's where the question mark circles. Are you willing to pay him, $200 million? I saw Pascal Siakam signed a $198 million. Huge amount of money. And is that the sort of level that you're going to pay him? Is he happy with that? The rumblings are around the team, and what I've read is that perhaps the Pelicans aren't prepared to pay him $50 million annually. And while $50 million is going to look less than what it is currently, you only can pay what you're comfortable paying, and Brandon's only going to accept what he wants to accept. As to whether or not they end up finding a middle ground that they're happy with, I'm not sure. Otherwise, does he get shipped out? And we'll talk about the rumblings and the rumours and the like towards the end of the show. We might finish on that. But we'll keep running down the roster. JV is a free agent. He had his $15 million this year, and it looks like he's out the door. We saw on Twitter, I think it was Rel saying that JV's house was on the market, which is devastating. So, he's been a great servant of the club and played some great basketball for us, carried us throughout the journey. But, it's been pretty well known that we needed a different look at centre, and hopefully that becomes the key piece in this off-season to really fill that void and get the type of, rangy defensive lob threat, perimeter defending, three-point shooting unicorn of a centre. I don't know where we get one, but that's what we've got to try to do. The work is going to be cut out for Griff, I think, to try to locate one that fits the bill perfectly, but we will see. Herb Jones, his new contract kicks in. $12 million for him after an all-defensive first team call out, the only non-centre in that first team, which is unreal. It means he's the best perimeter defender in the league, but you don't have to tell us. We all know that. He is wonderful, and we're really excited to have him kicking along again. But he's a bargain, especially if his trajectory continues to grow. With the three-point shooting and defensive nous continues, and as he becomes more comfortable offensively, as we see in different outbursts now and then throughout the seasons, he's going to be a real steal. But we love Herb, and I'm glad he's locked up for another 4 years. So Larry Nance has got another year to run. He's got $11 million this year and expiring. So that is he will be going into next season. So we look forward to watching that play out. Who else have we got? We got Dyson Daniels. So his third year's already been picked up. He'll only be making the third year rookie deal this year, which is about $6 million. His development is huge. And there was actually, I shared it on Twitter. He recently did about a 2-hour podcast with I suppose he's a cricket commentator down here, sports commentator, Mark Howard, Howie, on his podcast, the Howie Games. And I watched it last night, and Dyson as a guy, I was fortunate enough to meet him when he was 19 years old, and thanks to the Pelicans again, and all the support when I was over there to get that to happen, the power of the people. But the way he's sort of matured and grown up, and the way he spoke on the podcast, I thought first he was excellent. I know he cops a lot of flack, and we, expect more of him. We want him to do this and that. But if he does come back on this season, he's been working hard. He's been saying he's developing. He's working on those 3-point shooting, on the handle. He's got his trainer down here. He's then going to go into the Olympics, and hopefully should have a decent role on the Olympic team. It'd be bizarre if he doesn't, but you never know with this Boomers team. Where don't get me started. Talk about the Olympics in a minute. But yeah, it was a great chat, and it really gave an insight beyond Dyson into the NBA experience and getting drafted and what you go through, and his choices going to the G League Ignite over the NBL or into college. And it was really interesting chat. And I recommend going and listening to it if you've got a couple of hours. You don't have to listen to all of it, but it really is a good one. And the one thing that stuck with me on that was the Australian versus the American take on individuality. And, I might be getting a little bit off in a tangent here, but it's quite interesting what they talk about there, in that, Americans are so happy to be themselves. They're more than happy to, celebrate and, wear what they want to wear and carry on. And, if you ever want someone to lift you up and to, gas you up and make you feel good about yourself, you speak to an American. It's just, it really is. They're massive, massive advocates for people. The American dream and all that sort of stuff, where anyone can do anything if they set their mind to it. Talking to the Americans, it is like that. But you come to Australians, we have tall poppy syndrome. If someone wants to stick their head up, we'll knock it off. And it is fit in or get out, basically. And that's disappointing. We see it in our sports and we see it in society. But it's one thing I do love about America. I know that we're very fortunate to live in Australia, and I love it here, and I probably would never leave. But it is, America has plenty of its other flaws. But that's one thing that was a really interesting chat about that individuality versus in the two different countries. But it was a good chat, and yeah, you can go and check that out. I have shared it on my Twitter page, so you can go and check that out if you feel so inclined. What else do we have? So we had Dyson. We now go and have a look at the next player on the list. It is Jordan Hawkins. So the rookie, he didn't get to play quite as much as we thought. He had a massive explosion against the Denver Nuggets, and then sort of got benched. And, whether you think he should have been playing or not, I don't know. At different times in the year, I'm sure we could have used his shooting. I think that's why he was drafted. There will always be the argument that Willie Green doesn't like playing rookies, and people will say, well, he played Jose Alvarado and he played Herb. But they were, 24-year-olds, 4-year players, and, Jose was only there because Kyra got injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ever touched the court. So, there's always an argument either which way, and I won't try to unpack that today. I can't solve the world's problems, but I think Hawk is in for a big year. I think he really needs to hit the court this year. They need to play him. We need the shooting, and that's the modern NBA. If you're not going to play your best 3-point shooter, then what's the point of having them? That's how I see it, and I don't think you can win without the 3-point shooting. Boston shot the most of any team. They averaged about 40 a game. We wanted to shoot 40 a game, and we didn't even get close. So, in the games that we did, we won. So I don't know, but I don't try to get in the minds of the Pelicans coaches and GMs. Trey Murphy, we thought he was going to have the breakout year this year, and he was good. If Brandon Ingram's moved, he will, no doubt move into the starting lineup unless they get someone else that fills that void. He's in line for a big extension as well. So if you pay him, I think he's due around 120 or something million, maybe more. You're going to be really top heavy in the contract side. At the moment, he's on $3 million, but soon enough, you're going to be paying another guy, $30 million odd a year, and all of a sudden, you've got a lot of cap space tied up on a whole heap of players that haven't really done much yet. So we enter the dangerous territory as to before you sort of get capped out and you need to make a decision as to what you're going to do. But I don't know what Griff's going to do. So Trey, I thought he was good. He hurt his knee. I think he's going to have. I think he's in line for a big year this year. The steps he was taking and the confidence in his shot and ball handling and things like that were really coming back later in the season. It's about trusting your body, and when your knee gives up on you, and it aches, or you get a little niggle, or you move a different way, in the back of your mind, you doubt it, and it takes a little bit of time to get that full confidence. I think he was getting that towards the end of the season, and I hope we're going to need him to be great this season. So I look forward to seeing what jump he can make. Cody Zeller's a free agent. He'll be gone. Najee Marshall, unfortunately, I think will be gone. He is a free agent as well, and I just think he's going to get a better deal somewhere else, and he should take it. It wouldn't surprise me if a team offers him, the Herb type deal or thereabouts, maybe a little bit less, and he takes that, because I don't think the Pelicans are going to come to the party and pay him that much, which will be a loss, I think, to the team, because he brings a little bit of X factor that we don't really have, beyond him, I guess. Jose Alvarado, he has another year, another team option, and I imagine that was picked up. I'm pretty sure it was. I think I read that. So he's on a cheap deal as well, but it's whether or not, he's going to be here this season, or if he gets put in as part of a package as a bit of salary filler. I think they hold on to him because he, again, another X-Factor player. He's been fantastic for us, and I don't want to lose him. I think he's been excellent, and I can't really fault him. He's done everything he's been asked. EJ Liddell's a bit of a funny one. He's got the 3 years in that rookie contract, or 2 years to go after coming into this season. Is there a spot for him? I don't know. I genuinely don't. I don't know what position he's best suited for. He's sort of an undersized 4, but maybe, or an undersized 5. I don't know. But we haven't seen enough. Hopefully, again, like Trey, he gets that confidence in his body, and we can see him really flourish. Matt Ryan, he's got a couple of years to go. The non-guaranteed, all of his money's non-guaranteed now, but we need to see whether or not they want to play him. I think, you go and get these specialist 3-point shooters, and I look at Boston, and again, loose comparison, because we are nowhere in the same realm as what Boston just did. You get that Sam Hauser, who literally come in and just shot threes. Matt Ryan's just as good a shooter as him. There's no reason why he can't play specialist 3-point players. Defense, things like that. Well, let the guy get into the game and get the reps, and then all of a sudden you'll see the reps start to come through. He can shoot the lights out. I think he should be playing. Again, I don't make the rules. I just watch the basketball. Jeremiah Robertson-Earl, he's got another team option, and I look forward to seeing what he can do. Again, high upside guy, played his heart out when he did play, but again, end of the bench sort of player. I don't know if there's the opportunities that perhaps he'd be chasing, but we'll see. So, that's where we are on the roster. So what do we need? We definitely need a centre, because the centre rotation is now small. There's only going to be Larry Nance, and again, he's 6'6" in platform shoes. So we're small. We're a small team. If Brandon Ingram's moved on, well, perhaps that forms part of it. And I've seen, rumblings of him going to certain teams and getting us a centre back. I also think we need a ball handler. And, I think we've had this discussion for so many years now, a few years, that, we've got enough players that can handle the ball and bring it up. B.I. can do it. Zion can do it. CJ can do it. But sometimes you just want someone to you want to have options off the ball. And if you've got 3 great options off the ball, and say you have a Trey Murphy on as well, you give yourself the opportunity to succeed. And one thing watching the playoffs, you see a guy like Mike Conley, take over the fourth quarter for the Wolves, and he just controls the pace. Mike Conley has been an all-star once or something, but he's just been a consistent guy. At one point, he was the highest paid player in the league. But consistent player, great vet, great point guard. And I think that's an underrated art in this league. If you've got a guy that can score the ball, he can shoot threes, but also be a true point guard, then I think that's what we need to find. And I don't know whether or not that's possible to do, but a veteran point guard, whether they start or come off the bench, that can just take control of the game at certain points when we get out of hand and help us execute games down the stretch, that's what I felt like we missed. Because people get tired. Zion, we watched the hamstring. That's fatigue. That's literally what it is, doing a hamstring like that. He was absolutely on a tear, and then it pings. That's fatigue. It's overuse, overwork. And, whether you can make any sort of statement about fitness and things like that, I think he was in the best shape of his career. So I can't really blame any of that. It is purely just bad luck. And you wear it down. You do the wrong movement at the wrong time. Now, disappointing to say the least, but that's what I think you need to go and get, is a veteran point guard, or if you can get a star point guard. I know people have floated Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, guys like that. You've got to give up a lot to get them. Is that what we want to do? I mean, if Brandon Ingram is appealing to them and they want to trade Brandon Ingram, well then, maybe that's the way they go. But I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. But I'm excited as everyone else to see how this team, changes. So, with that being said, the key piece in all this, is Brandon Ingram. He's going into this last year of the contract. I don't know whether or not they've already presented the number. I'd say that they probably have almost immediately as to this is the number to come back. This is what we're happy to pay you. We want you to stay, but if not, well then we can also facilitate a trade where you'd then imagine that you'd sign a deal, 6 months after the trade period, you'll agree in principle to re-signing with that team that you'd be traded to, or you just do the Kawhi Leonard spec and just go for a year and you're just a rental. But I don't know. Places that have been interested, they've flagged the Cavs, they've flagged Detroit. I'm hesitant with those two purely because, if James Borrego goes there, do they want Brandon Ingram? If, you got Trajan at Detroit. Does he want Brandon? I don't know. What are you going to get back? Is it enough? There was a recent report that we offered Sengun for Brandon straight up with the Rockets. They've rejected that. I don't know what his value is around the league. People say that it's high and that they've sort of got him as that next tier if people miss out on a Paul George or, that type of player. But as long as sometimes you have to go backwards to go forwards, but you need to be very careful about this situation because what you don't want to do is get left, get, not so much get left, but get, have your hands tied so that you can't trade a player. You have to trade him for parts because all of a sudden it's like, well, he's a free agent now, he's gone. You've really got to the trade deadline, and otherwise you're in some trouble. So you either re-sign him and just get it out of the way, or you move him on. And I think it has to happen before the season starts, otherwise you're going to have this over your head all season. And gosh, we've played that game. I think this has to be sorted sooner rather than later. But again, I think it's a watch this space type thing. I don't think anyone's a front runner for him at the minute. Now, finally, I'm just going to finish on the Olympics. We've got a couple of players, Jose with Puerto Rico. We got Dyson with Australia. Looking forward to that. I mean, I've seen the Australians group. It's like Spain, Greece, I don't know, someone else and us. We're just going to get smoked, so look forward to that. And, the US is probably just going to roll through with the redeemed team too. So, woohoo, go USA. But, that's just how it goes. So, to recap, that's sort of the team we're going through. We're going through a bit of the movements. And I suppose that's where we'll leave it for episode 1. We've gone on long enough. How good. We're back. So, I suppose, let's put a pin in it. This has been Flock, a Pelicans podcast, part of the Old Man Squad Sports Network. I am your host, Lyle Swithenbank, at Lyle Swithenbank on Twitter. Please go and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you can give us a 5-star review just to get us zinging, I would be forever grateful. But we're going to get these shows out, and we're going to get them out thick and fast. We're going to get it going. We're back. You get to hear from me again. So, as always, stay safe and bye for now.
Ready?